You might believe that sending more messages will make an avoidant person feel closer to you. Usually the opposite happens. The more you chase, explain, check in, or try to keep the conversation alive, the more likely they are to create distance. And this is the part most people never explain. Why does someone seem warm one moment, then suddenly become distant when the connection starts feeling good? Why can you send something genuine and caring only to receive silence in return? The reason is that avoidant attachment does not respond to connection the same way secure attachment does. The strategies that might work with an emotionally available person can actually create more distance with someone who has strong avoidant patterns. If you have ever felt yourself giving more and more while receiving less and less, you already know what this feels like. You send the thoughtful message, you try to understand them, you show them how much you care. Then they pull away, leaving you wondering what you did wrong. But there is another way to communicate. There are 4 specific types of messages that can create connection without making an avoidant person feel emotionally cornered. These are not magic texts or manipulation tactics. They work because they respect the way an avoidant may experience emotional closeness. To understand them, you first need to understand something important. An avoidant person is not necessarily distant because they have no feelings. Sometimes their distance exists because emotional closeness feels overwhelming. At some point in their life, they may have learned that depending on another person can lead to disappointment, rejection, or pain. So they developed independence as protection. They built emotional walls. From the outside, those walls can make them look detached, uninterested, or even cold. But behind them, they may still be watching, noticing, thinking, and feeling far more than they show. The problem begins when the connection becomes intense. When they start feeling strongly attached, their internal alarm can go off. Suddenly, closeness does not feel comforting anymore, it feels dangerous. Their instinct becomes creating distance before they become too vulnerable. That does not mean you should excuse unhealthy behavior or chase someone who repeatedly hurts you. It simply means that if you want to communicate with an avoidant person, pressure is usually not the answer. Instead of asking, "How can I make this person want me more?" ask yourself, "How can I communicate without making closeness feel like a demand?" That shift changes everything. Before we get into the first message, leave one word in the comments describing how you currently feel about this person. Confused, hopeful, frustrated, tired, nervous, whatever genuinely fits. And if you want more content about understanding avoidant behavior and emotional patterns, subscribe to Inside Avoidant. Every subscriber helps us continue building this community. Now, the first approach is what I call the no-pressure check-in. To understand why it works, you have to understand how emotional pressure can affect an avoidant person. A message does not have to sound demanding to feel demanding. Sometimes the pressure exists underneath the words. For example, "How are you?" may seem completely harmless, but if the person senses that you expect a deep conversation, emotional reassurance, or a certain level of affection in return, they may immediately feel uncomfortable. So instead of creating an invisible obligation, remove it completely. You could say, "Hey, no need to reply right away. I just saw this and it reminded me of you." Then send something that genuinely connects to them. Maybe it is a funny post about something they enjoy. Maybe it is an article related to a topic they once talked about. Maybe it is a picture that reminds you of a conversation you shared. And then stop. Do not add, "I miss you." Do not ask, "Why aren't you answering?" Do not send another message 5 minutes later. Do not make it obvious that you are sitting there waiting for their reaction. Let the message exist on its own. The power comes from the absence of pressure. You are communicating, "I thought about you, but I am not demanding anything from you." For someone who associates emotional closeness with obligation, that difference can matter. They do not feel like they owe you a response. They do not feel responsible for managing your emotions. They do not feel trapped inside a conversation they are not ready to have. And when the sense of obligation disappears, they may feel much safer engaging naturally. There is an even stronger version of this approach. Make the message personally relevant. If they once told you about a strange experience in their hometown, and you later come across something interesting about that place, send it to them. You are not saying, "Look how much I remember about you." You are simply demonstrating it. You listened, you paid attention, you remembered something meaningful. And most importantly, you are not immediately asking for something in exchange. That can leave a much stronger impression than a long, emotional message ever could. Because sometimes the message that creates the most curiosity is not the one that says the most. It is the one that communicates genuine thought without demanding attention. The second approach is what I call the confident, low-investment reach-out. And this one only works when you genuinely understand how to use it. You cannot pretend to have this mindset. An avoidant person can usually sense when you are only acting confident or independent. The difference shows up in the energy behind your words. For example, you might say, "Today was absolutely ridiculous." You would have laughed, "Hope your day was less chaotic." Or maybe, "There are some unbelievable people out here today. You would either love this place or completely hate it." Notice how simple that is. You are sharing a small piece of your day. You are bringing them into your world for a moment. You are showing that you understand their personality well enough to know how they might react. But then you let the conversation breathe. You are not immediately asking, "How was your day?" You are not saying, "What are you doing?" You are not creating an expectation that they have to keep the conversation going. You gave them a glimpse into your life, and then you continued living it. That matters because avoidant people are often more comfortable around someone who clearly has a life outside the relationship. And there is a huge difference between claiming to be independent and actually demonstrating it. If you always seem to be waiting for their attention, they can start feeling like they have become the center of your emotional world. That can feel heavy to someone who already associates closeness with pressure. But when you are clearly busy living, experiencing things, making plans, meeting people, pursuing your own interests, and enjoying your own world, something changes. You stop looking like someone they have to escape from. You start looking like someone they can move toward. That is why the confidence behind this kind of message matters. It is not about acting arrogant or pretending you do not care. It is not about trying to make them jealous or proving that you are desirable. It is simply calmness. There is no desperation hiding between the lines, no attempt to get reassurance, no effort to force intimacy. You are simply sharing something because you wanted to. That kind of ease is powerful. The third approach is what I call the open-door callback, and surprisingly, very few people know how to use it. Imagine something between you has been left unresolved. Maybe they suddenly became distant. Maybe a conversation ended awkwardly. Maybe you had plans together that never happened. Now both of you are sitting in that uncomfortable space where neither person knows what to do next. Most people respond in one of two ways. They either send an enormous emotional message explaining everything they feel, asking what happened, demanding clarity, and trying to fix the entire situation in one conversation. Or they disappear completely, and wait for the other person to make the first move, secretly becoming more frustrated every day that nothing happens. The open door approach takes a completely different path. You might say, "Still up for that coffee whenever you have some time? No pressure." Or, "That place we talked about visiting looks even better than I expected. If you ever want to go, the invitation is still there." That is it. You have acknowledged something you shared. You have reminded them that the connection still exists, and most importantly, you have left the decision in their hands. You are not forcing them through the door. You are simply letting them know the door is still open. For someone with avoidant tendencies, that can feel very different from what they normally experience. Deep down, an avoidant may fear that getting close will eventually lead to losing the person. So instead of waiting for that loss to happen, they sometimes create distance first. They leave before they can be left. They detach before they become too dependent. They create the ending before someone else has the opportunity to create it for them. But a calm message that says, in essence, "I am still here, and you are allowed to take your time," challenges that expectation. You are not punishing them for pulling back. You are not making them feel guilty for needing space. You are not turning their distance into an emotional battle. You are simply saying the possibility still exists. That patience can be surprisingly powerful. But there is one major condition. You have to mean it. If you send a supposedly relaxed message while secretly feeling furious, desperate, or determined to make them feel guilty, they may sense the contradiction. Avoidant people can be extremely sensitive to emotional tension. They may not always explain what they are detecting, but they can notice when something feels emotionally loaded. So do not use patience as a manipulation strategy. Do not pretend you are fine when you are actually falling apart, just to make them chase you. If you genuinely need time to become calm, take that time first. The fourth approach is probably the hardest, because it goes against what most people naturally do when they become attached to someone. I call it the disappearing act approach. And technically, it is not even about sending a particular text. It is about changing your relationship with texting. You send something interesting, something light, something that gives the conversation a little spark. Then you stop. Not as punishment, not to make them panic, not while secretly refreshing your phone every few minutes. You actually step away. Go meet your friend. Work on your goals. Exercise. Take a walk. Start the project you keep postponing. Go somewhere. Do something that has nothing to do with whether they respond. Because when you genuinely stop waiting, something changes. Avoidant people are often comfortable being the person who creates distance. Pulling away gives them a sense of control over how emotionally close the relationship becomes. But when you are no longer standing on the other side of the distance waiting for them, the dynamic can shift. Curiosity can appear. They may begin wondering what you are doing, why you have become less available, whether something changed, whether you are still interested. And yes, avoidant people can miss someone deeply. They may simply be much less comfortable acknowledging that feeling. When someone they genuinely care about is always available, there may be no urgency to confront those feelings. But when that person naturally becomes absorbed in their own life, the absence can become noticeable. That is not a game. It is simply what happens when two people have independent lives. You should never manufacture uncertainty just to keep someone interested. But you also should not eliminate all uncertainty by making yourself endlessly available. After some genuine space, your next message should feel normal. Maybe something reminds you of them. Maybe you have something funny to share. Maybe you simply have a reason to reach out. The important part is that you are not returning because the silence became unbearable. You are returning because you genuinely wanted to connect. That pattern, space followed by light connection, can create a healthier rhythm with someone who needs room to process closeness. But underneath all four approaches is something much more important than the actual words. It is the emotional state you are texting from. You could have the perfect message written out, but if you are obsessing over every word, analyzing every response, checking your phone constantly, and wondering what every delay means, that anxiety can still come through. Even through a screen, people can often sense when communication comes from calmness versus desperation. So do not focus only on memorizing these four approaches. Focus on changing where your attention goes. If this person occupies your thoughts from morning until night, what they meant, what they are feeling, whether they will come back, what you should text next, you are giving them an enormous amount of emotional space. And that push and pull dynamic can become incredibly consuming. The occasional moments of closeness, followed by distance, can create a cycle of anticipation, disappointment, hope, and relief that keeps you emotionally hooked. That does not mean something is wrong with you. It means the pattern itself can become powerful. But you can interrupt it. Start putting your attention back into your own world, your goals, your friendships, your interests, your work, your experiences. Not because becoming busy is some secret trick that will make an avoidant chase you. Do it because your life deserves to exist independently of their attention. And when you genuinely begin investing in that life again, something interesting happens. You do not have to pretend to be confident. You actually become more grounded. You do not have to pretend to be interesting. You become more engaged with life. And you stop trying to convince someone to choose you because you remember that you have a life worth choosing for yourself. Not because you are pretending to have your own life, but because you have genuinely started living it again. And an avoidant person, who may notice far more than they openly admit, can sense that change. They notice that you are no longer constantly waiting. They notice that your attention is not fixed on them anymore. You have things happening. You have places to go, people to see, goals to pursue, and experiences that have nothing to do with them. You are moving forward. And that kind of emotional movement can be incredibly attractive to someone who has spent years protecting themselves by staying emotionally still. Let us go a little deeper into avoidant psychology, because understanding where these patterns come from can help you see the person more clearly without excusing behavior that hurts you. Many people with avoidant attachment learned early in life that expressing emotional needs did not always lead to comfort. Sometimes their caregivers loved them, but struggled whenever the child became emotional, vulnerable, or dependent. Other times, their needs may have been dismissed, rejected, or treated as inconvenient. Over time, the child begins creating a story about relationships. I am safer when I do not need anyone. If I depend on people, I can get hurt. I have to handle everything myself. So independence becomes more than a healthy quality. It becomes protection. They learn to rely on themselves. They become extremely self-sufficient. They convince themselves that closeness is optional and that they can walk away from connection whenever they want. For a while, that strategy works. It protects them from disappointment. It reduces vulnerability. It gives them control over how much another person can affect them. But there is a cost. The same wall that protects them from emotional pain can also block the deep connection they naturally crave. Because underneath the independence, the silence, and the emotional distance, there can still be a very human desire to feel understood, chosen, and connected. The problem is that they may not know how to experience closeness without feeling threatened by it. That is why patience can matter. But understand what I mean by patience. I do not mean waiting forever. I do not mean accepting poor treatment. I do not mean ignoring your own needs while you constantly accommodate theirs. I mean having a steady emotional presence. A presence that communicates, you are allowed to have space. I am not going to chase you, punish you, or fall apart because you need a little room. That kind of stability can feel very different to someone who expects relationships to become emotionally overwhelming. But there is something equally important that you need to hear. Not every avoidant person is ready to change. You can communicate perfectly. You can give them space. You can become more grounded. You can understand their patterns better than anyone else, and they still may not be capable of meeting you where you need them to meet you. Some people are simply not ready to confront their emotional defenses. Their walls may remain in place for a long time. And if you spend your life standing outside those walls, waiting for them to open, you can lose yourself in the process. That is why these communication strategies should never be about abandoning your own needs. In fact, each one should benefit you too. The low-pressure message teaches you to release control over the outcome. The confident, low-investment approach encourages you to build a life that does not revolve around one person. The open-door message helps you communicate without carrying resentment. And stepping away from your phone forces you to return your attention to your actual life. So even if this particular relationship never develops the way you hoped, you are still becoming more emotionally stable, independent, and secure. That is not some consolation prize. That is the real win. Now, let us talk about the things you should stop doing, because knowing what creates distance is just as important as knowing what creates connection. First, stop sending message after message when they have not responded. One message gives them an opportunity to respond. A second can begin creating pressure. By the third, it can start feeling like pursuit. And pursuit is exactly what can activate an avoidant person's instinct to create even more distance. Give your message room. If they have not responded yet, you do not need to fill the silence with another message. Let them process. And please, do not use texting as your emotional dumping ground. This is one of the biggest mistakes people make. You are anxious, you cannot sleep, you are replaying the entire relationship in your head. You want answers. You want to know what they are thinking. You want to explain yourself so they finally understand. So you open your phone and write a massive paragraph. It feels relieving while you are typing it. But to an avoidant person, that emotional intensity can feel overwhelming. Instead of creating clarity, it can make them retreat even further. If you need to process your emotions, find another place to do it. Talk to someone you trust. Write it down. Give yourself time to understand what you are actually feeling. Do not automatically make the avoidant person responsible for helping you regulate emotions that the relationship has not yet developed enough to hold. Another mistake is punishing them when they finally return. Imagine they disappear for several days and then suddenly send you a message. Do not respond with intentional coldness just to make them understand that you noticed their absence. Do not give them a one-word response because you want them to feel guilty. Do not deliberately act distant to get revenge. You might think you are protecting yourself, but you may actually reinforce their fear that closeness comes with consequences. Instead, if you genuinely feel comfortable welcoming them back, respond warmly. Something as simple as, "Hey, good to hear from you." No emotional performance. No excessive excitement. just warmth. That kind of response can slowly challenge the belief that returning to someone will automatically lead to punishment or conflict. And do not over-explain yourself. Avoidant dynamics can make you feel like you need to write an entire essay defending your behavior, explaining your feelings, or proving your intentions. Resist that urge. Say what needs to be said clearly. Keep it simple. The more emotionally complicated your explanation becomes, the harder it may be for them to stay engaged. Now let us talk about timing. When you text can sometimes influence how the message is received. Late-night messages can be tricky. People often become more emotional when the day gets quiet, but that also means a late-night message can carry more emotional weight than you intended. If you reach out at night, keep it light. Something funny, something interesting, something that does not demand emotional engagement. Morning messages can work too, but a simple "good morning" may unintentionally create an expectation that they need to respond. Adding something specific makes it feel more natural. Instead of simply saying "good morning," mention something relevant to their day or something that genuinely reminded you of them. And do not underestimate midday. A casual message in the middle of the day can feel much easier because neither person is necessarily expected to drop everything and respond immediately. After an argument or emotionally intense interaction, give them more space than your anxiety tells you to give.